Okay, last week we talked about sales. We talked about mid-year numbers. We looked at how many families we have served and how many we're planning on serving. So the question that I have is, where are we? Have we hit our numbers? Are we projected to hit our numbers? Because now is the time to recruit. Now it's interesting. A lot of people just plan on recruiting salespeople based on where our numbers should be for the end of the year. Remember, we also have to look at support team. There's a stress test. Every single support person should have a stress test done. A stress test says a transaction coordinator can handle a maximum of X amount of transactions on a monthly basis to be able to hit their highest function. Above this number is where they're so stressed out, they start making mistakes. So we know we can't wait. We'll say it's 30, it's 40, whatever that number is. The more seasoned they are in the role, the more they can handle. The newer they are on the role, the less they can handle. So we need to look at what that stress test is. So what happens is, we're going to say it's 30. If we know we're getting to that 25, 26, 27 range, then we wait for them to get the 30 to go recruit. If we know it's going to take a week or two to recruit and about 2 weeks to train, we're a month in, these people are freaking out, which means we're going to start making mistakes. We need to start around the 24, 25 range, so that way, if we've got 3 or 4 of them going at a time, we're proactively hiring for that role. Now remember, support teams is a liability in the concept of a P&L, which means there's a fixed out-of-pocket expense without having an asset return on them. Like salespeople, there's no fixed liability. They're paid on success, where support team is a salary or hourly, so it's a fixed liability. So we don't want to go prepay for it up front and not have enough work for them to do. So work on that stress test. Remember, recruiting is not just for sales, it's also for support. So make sure now that we're looking at our business plan, we're looking at what the growth strategy is going to be for the end of the year. Let's do the stress test, so that way we know when we're recruiting for our buyer's agents, our listing partners, or if you have a brokerage, and if you're offering support, what that piece is going to be. We also have to look at what our marketing department is going to be. Our director of first impressions, are we looking at transactioning them into another role? When do we hire for that role? Are they training their position? Are we looking at getting an operations manager, a sales manager, getting you to actually work on the company instead of in the company? There's a lot of steps that has to happen. All of this should be in your business plan. All these have to be milestones. Recruiting cannot be reactive. It has to be proactive. It also needs to be done when we're looking at our mid-year numbers, also on our monthly numbers, how many leads we're generating. Out of those leads, how many are we making calls on? Are our listing appointments a week out versus 2 days out? Are they 2 weeks out? Are we not answering all of our direct transfers from our IVR systems? Do we not have enough floor time for our agents? See, it's all these little things that make so much change in your business plan. So we've got to look at 1, the stress test of the operations and recruiting for operations. 2, we need to look at what the milestones are for the recruiting opportunities for sales. 3, at what milestones do we need to go and get an operations manager, a sales manager, a general manager, when you start working on the company instead of in the company. But this is businesses that we run, people. We're not just an agent. We're not just a loan officer. We're not just a salesperson. We are business owners, and we have to think of this as a business. And that's being able to benefit on our expertise and being able to build a company underneath us. Being able to monetize our experience and being able to delegate effectively, which a lot of you are control freaks, and we can work on that. But it's being able to build that empire. You can't do that alone. That's a solopreneur. We talk about this all the time. It's time for you to become entrepreneurs. And an entrepreneur's job is to think about the future of the company. Stress test recruiting. We talked about sales in the last one. Let's talk about recruiting now. If we're hitting our milestones, we're on our goals to be able to hit our numbers, we need to proactively look at recruiting. Recruiting, there's career days. You can do Indeed. John Pike's got a great recruiting program. There's so many different products you can use as recruiting. Your best recruiting is from your team. You need to have a recruiting module in place. Make sure you're talking to your coach in regards to recruiting bonuses. So, we got sales, now we got recruiting. We're going to dive deeper on the next couple of tips to be able to make sure that we're at our mid-year numbers, preparing for the rest of the year. We want to be ahead of the game. We want to make sure that we are literally owning our market and destroying our competition. And that's because we're prepared. We're ahead of the game. We're in front of the ball. And it's not that I just want to beat our competition. I don't want to make them unemployed. I just want to make sure they're working for me. That's all. That sounds like a great growth strategy, right? You have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you next week.